안녕하세요 여러분, 감사합니다. Hi everyone, Margarita here, and in today's episode we're going to be talking about a mutual struggle that all of us are going through whenever we encounter the verb 되다. For those of you who are new to Korean, the verb 되다 means to become. It can have a few other meanings depending on the context, but let's just roll with this. But what's more peculiar about this verb is that whenever it gets conjugated, its spelling actually changes. And the worst thing above all is that the pronunciation doesn't change. So we need to somehow figure out, when do we use this 돼 or this 돼 in a sentence, in a phrase, in conjunction with other grammatical principles, just how? And I feel like in our weekly Korean series, I rarely talk about spelling and writing. We are more concerned with talking and understanding. So I want to take today's opportunity to teach you a little trick, or more like a rule, because I'm sure all native Korean speakers probably learned this in school because it sounds like a textbook kind of rule. But this will allow you to know when to use which spelling of 돼 depending on what context and what the grammatical stuff is going on within a sentence. So when I was preparing this episode, I actually didn't know myself that there was a trick or a rule to really knowing when and how to spell 되다. But a few useful blogs, which I have linked in the description if you guys want to know a little more about it, do talk about this trick, and interestingly, one of them is actually fully in Korean. So those of you who are intermediate to advanced Korean learners, I highly suggest you head over to that blog, read the entire explanation in Korean so that you kind of get the gist of how to explain things in Korean. I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for me personally to take my Korean to a new level where I can actually explain Korean in Korean. Like, that's when you become fluent. This is the goal to which all of us are striving for here. So, why do we have two different spellings of 돼? Well, this all kind of has to do with the verb and how it gets conjugated and its structure. So when we have just a regular dictionary plain form of 되다, it is written with O and E, the stem. That is the unconjugated stem of the verb to become, and then whenever we try to conjugate it in, let's say, present or past tense, we switch up the spelling a little bit where it turns into O and E. And for all those of you who are real grammar geeks, that actually happens because, as we know, the present tense conjugation is adding a or a and then yo to a stem of a verb, and in the past tense it's either ot or at, which then indicates past tense. But when it comes to 돼, when we merge the a and the 돼 together, it turns into 돼 that is spelled with an e, because e plus a forms an e, basically. That's why we have 됐어요 or 돼요 spelled the way it is spelled. So this is just a little grammar nerdiness for all of you who do want to know this, do want to know the origins of how conjugation of 돼 works. But if you don't want to concern yourself with all this real nerdy grammar stuff, just think of 돼 written with an E as a non-conjugated version of the stem, and the 돼 written with an E as a conjugated one. This is how we're going to differentiate it. But now, how do we actually know which one of them to write? How do we know which one of them to use? This is a trick. Take the verb 하다. And 하다 is super useful in this case because it behaves like 되다 when conjugated, but the pronunciation changes as well. That's why we can actually know when to write each one. Like, ha is just the stem of to do, but then he is the conjugated version in present or past or whatever other tense, right? So, let's say we have two phrases. One is 안 되다, and another one is 안 됐어, okay? One of them means to not become, and another means because something didn't become. Like, saw is a little particle that you add to verbs to create this cause and effect relationship. I have made a video about it, I believe, so check out in the cards. So in these two cases, how do we know which 돼 spelling to actually use? Well, this is where we use the 하다 trick. Let's just try and plug in ha or he into these phrases and see which one of them works. First one, 안 되다. Let's plug in ha, 안 하다, or he, 안 해다. An heda doesn't really sound right at all. It just sounds weird in my ears. So if anhada works, then we know that we need to plug in the unconjugated version of the verb stem, which is 돼 written with an E. When it comes to 안 돼서, when we plug in ha or he, it ends up being 안 하서 or 안 해서. 안 해서 sounds right. 안 하서 is just like, what? It's weird to my ears, it sounds grammatically incorrect, and if you do know the verb 하다, which you most probably do because it's the most simplest, the most common verb that people use to learn Korean, you know that 안 해서 is correct. So then you know that we put the conjugated stem into there, which is 안 돼서, written with a 에. Ta-da! It's that simple. And here I know some of you will say, oh well, you kind of made it easy because the first one was the regular dictionary form of the verb and another one was conjugated. Like, you can guess it a little bit here if you know Korean grammar well enough. But let's use some more complicated grammatical structures and let's do this as an exercise so you guys can practice a little bit. I'm gonna give you two options of spelling and you guys tell me which one of them is correct. You can pause the video, you can do the little hada trick if it helps you, and then let's see if you get all the answers correct. First exercise is ande or ande. And do you guys know what ande means? Ande is actually a really interesting phrase where it can mean so many different things, like don't do something, or you can't do something, or this shouldn't be done in general. It's a very interesting phrase and I love when people just scream it in dramas or in variety TV shows like ande! But I digress. Did you guys have the time to figure out which one of the spelling is correct? I'm pretty sure you did, and the answer is ande, written with an e, because if we plug in hada, we end up with anhe, ane, to not do. Whereas anha sounds like, what? That's almost like a Korean name. Anna? Or an English name, Anna. So in this case, ande with an e is the correct spelling. Next exercise is 될 수밖에 or 될 수밖에. That should be an interesting one for you guys. And this phrase basically means to not have any other choice but to become, kind of thing. I should probably make a separate weekly Korean video about it because it's an interesting grammar concept if you think about it. Alright, but did you figure out the spelling? Yeah? Alright, in this case, the 될 수밖에 that is written with an E is the correct one because when we plug in ha or he, we end up with 할 수밖에 and 할 수밖에. Come on guys, which one sounds off? The 할 수밖에. I've never heard anyone say that. 할 수밖에 sounds a lot more natural, so that's why we know that we need to plug in the unconjugated stem of 되다, which is written with an E. Now let's just do one more exercise just to really get you guys understanding and really getting the whole gist of the spelling. And the phrase we're going to be using is 돼야 해요 and 돼야 해요. Which of the spelling is correct? While you think about it, I'll just tell you the definition. This phrase basically means have to become or should become. The something 야 해요 is usually has a meaning of something has to be done. I'm pretty sure I have made a video about it, like I had to. I'm gonna look through my weekly Korean series and if I made a video I'll add it to the card, so do check it out guys. Right, so hopefully you've got the answer by now and the correct one is 돼야 해요 written with an e because if we plug in ha or he, 해야 해요 sounds a lot more right and natural and correct than 하야 해요. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. So we know to plug in the conjugated stem of 되다, which is written with e. Alright, well hopefully this was useful for you guys. Hopefully you understood what I was trying to say. Do let me know if you find this trick useful or not. Let me know if you have any other tricks that you use with Korean spelling. If you want me to make more videos on how to spell things properly in Korean, I can. Do leave those suggestions in the comments too, and just write anything you want. I'll be really happy to chat to you guys. I feel like we haven't done that in a while, so I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope the rest of your week is gonna be great, and I will see you all really, really soon with a new video. Bye! 안녕!